GM. Welcome, guys. We are back with Solana Made Simple. And today we're going to be talking about btcSOL, explaining that a little bit. We got a guest today, break it down a little bit more in depth. But we got Jules back. He had a long weekend. How are you doing, brother? It's good to have you back.
Doing good. Ready to lock in for fall.
You shut down summer. You done with it? You shut the door on it and just moving forward now?
That's me. Labor Day weekend is it. So now it's just hanging out at my desk the whole time.
Gotcha. Was that your birthday weekend or something?
No, that was a couple of weeks back.
That was a couple of weeks ago. See, they're all mixing together for me.
Mid-August.
All of it's a birthday in August for you then, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Well, we got a guest here today. It's Des from btcSOL. We're excited to talk about this. We've been showing you guys some access to this, but we're gonna really break it down and see what this is all about, how you can get into it. But Jules, you usually start off with some quick updates, some things going on in the market. If you got that ready for us, we'll go over that, and then we'll bring Des up and break into the btcSOL conversation.
Yeah, for sure. So again, kind of going with the same theme as we basically talk about almost every week when it comes to the news is excuse me, just a variety of different things. I would say every week we can talk about treasury companies and things like that. So anyway, Pantera Capital was a leading U.S. venture capital and hedge fund firm. They are apparently spearheading a $1.25 billion effort to transform a publicly traded company into a dedicated Solana treasury vehicle. So this will be referred to as Solana Co. I guess the plan involves an initial $500 million capital raise from institutional investors, supplemented by a $750 million through warrants.
Jesus.
So with Pantera committing $100 million itself. So basically that's going to build on the firm's track record of deploying over a few $100 million in treasury companies across various digital assets this year. And analysts note that Pantera's structured approach combines both public equity and long-term token accumulation strategies. So obviously all bullish again for the Solana eco there.
Yeah, dude.
One note from them would have been they stated DATs can generate yield to grow net asset value per share, resulting in more underlying token ownership over time than just holding spot. So again, going with the theme of going down the curve further than just spot exposure.
Right. And when you say going down the curve, somebody asked me about this. They're like, does it mean like it's less risk? I'm like, no, I think it's going, down the curve. Like you're adding higher risk, levels.
Correct. To me, going down the curve means, okay, so like the start of the curve is always like, okay, how can we get involved with even less risk? I mean, that's the very first thing you're doing is spot exposure, and you're kind of going down the line from there, in my opinion. You know what I mean? So
I just want to clarify that somebody reached out and I was like, what
good.
do you mean down the risk curve? And I was like, no, not that way. It's what we're talking about is exposing to more risk. But if you guys have any questions along this, just put them in the chat. I'm going to keep an eye on there. We got Gravy behind the scenes. He's a little IRL trying to do some remote work for us, but shout out to the homie. He's basically our Jamie of Web3 over here, so he holds it down. Shout out to you, Gravy, if you're watching. But if you have questions, you got anything like that, share this out. Get some friends in here that are, interested in finding a little bit more about, Solana and BTC, exposure. But you got any other updates for us? Just wanted to tap in on that real quick.
Yeah, I do actually. And I think these are probably more that the average user would care about. I don't know if anyone, cares a little less when I bring up some of these institutional things, but. Jupiter Exchange actually launched at least I think the beta version of Jupe lending platform. So again, going with the same theme here, everybody's kind of starting to take part. There's a reason for that because it's everybody's getting involved.
Yeah, the internet capital market, they're hitting hard. I mean, that's something that I've been kind of looking at a little bit closer, and I think maybe we even have another show touching base on that. But I did see Jupiter Lens getting into the picture there. They hinted at that a few weeks ago. Good to see that, at least the beta stage.
And it was, I don't have it up in front of me, but it was pretty basic on what was available yet.
Yeah, so, that's what I saw.
And you're going to assume that's going to grow.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, other than that, Play Solana gaming devices are set to ship in October. I'm sure plenty of people are fully aware of that. So that's coming here soon. Meteora, which again, I'm sure most people here would know what that is. They've finalized points gearing up for their launch. And we also have, this was just kind of an interesting take. Again, if we're talking about the curve on where everything is going, if you watch every week, you know exactly what I mean by this. Bitwise has filed an S1 with the SEC to launch a Chainlink ETF. So again, we've started with, okay, Bitcoin spot exposure and moving down to ETH, Solana. I mean, now we even have a Chainlink ETF. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. So you get the idea again if you've
slowly then all at once, for sure. I mean, you're starting to see more and more exposure out there. You're seeing more and more traditional finance coming into the play. I made a video about ETFs. They're exchange traded funds. Basically, it's for the average traditional investor that has a stock brokerage account that can buy crypto related assets that have exposure to them. We just heard about the Marinade Canary Fund. With staking rewards kicked in. So we have a lot of exciting announcement when it comes to that. I don't want to get too far into these conversations because we do have Des behind the scenes. So you got anything else you want to share with us, or was that the last one there?
That was it.
All right, I'm going to play this clip real quick, give you guys a little reminder what btcSOL is, and we'll be right back with Des.
Down quickly, looking the lob, Zion's there. Plays it ahead of board. Looking the lob.
GM, what's going on, Des?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Happy to have you, brother.
Thank you. That trailer gets me every time.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's got a good vibe. It's a good one to get the show started. When I first started doing this, I was like, man, this is gonna get everybody juiced up. Even if they've seen it a million times, we'll be like, okay, let's go. Gonna end up in the gym at halfway through this.
You know it.
But yeah, we want to get into this a little bit today. We want to talk a little bit about btcSOL. We got some questions just for the common folk that have not used this yet, that they've seen us posting about it, asking questions. But we want to bring you up here and get a little bit more of a deeper dive. But before we get into that, if you want to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself. How it's been in your journey in crypto. You were just at the IRL event WebX. You can kind of just share a little bit about that. Let the people know who you are, what you got going on, and background a little bit if you want.
Yeah, exactly. Just to touch on what Jules said a little bit early on. I don't know much, but I know $1 billion dad is a pretty big fucking number. You know what I mean? So
yeah, right.
Pretty bullish about that. I mean, when I know I speak for most of us here. When we were in crypto last cycle, if you told me that we'd be having DATs and all this kind of institutional adoption and the U.S. embracing crypto and all that kind of jazz, I would have told you to go fly a kite in the rainstorm, right? Like that was so far off the bingo card. It was kind of crazy. So to see the kind of progression that our industry has taken, even with all the self-damage that we've done to ourselves, really speaks a lot to the true potential that we all see in crypto, right? Like I think I know Jules and we're around the same age, 60, 70 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
But back then, when you couldn't, it was not easy to get in on the Web 2 train, right? Like you really had to do, you had to be in like one of the 3 majors or one of the 4 majors, right? You're either in Google or Apple or whatnot. So this really kind of gives a lot of everyone around the world, right? Whether you have like $1 or $2 or whatever, or $1 million, access to kind of everything. It's a worldwide thing, right? So, I mean, for me, I really understood the value of crypto because I traveled a lot when I was younger in age.
Okay.
And you see like people working overseas away from the family, send the whole month working for meager wages, to send it back home to like another third world country, and they pay like $20, $30, $40 just to send that money home. And then on top of that, you get to some more developed countries, like I'm in Hong Kong, based in Hong Kong right now. I used to live in Canada, all that kind of jazz. And you go to the bank and you say you want to withdraw money, your money that you deposited in the bank, and they go, what for? And I said, well, does it really matter? And they're like, yeah, in order for us to give you your money, you need to tell us what for. So I said, okay, hookers and blow. They didn't find that so funny. So, but then you realize it's not really your money.
Right.
So kind of crypto kind of has that for a lot of us. It kind of makes a lot of sense, right? Like, that's how we all got into it. And it helps that the price goes up over time and all that kind of stuff, just because we're so damn early in this ride, right? So got wrecked multiple times, as we all do. My nickname before was bag holder mafia, part of the bag holder mafia, as a lot of us are. Fell for a lot of that stuff that we shouldn't have fallen for, but we're still here.
Yeah.
I feel like Zeus is a product that I really like, because it's like it's all about being in charge of your own funds. The Bitcoin on polos, no KYC, no KYB is it's yours, right?
Right.
And btcSOL is sort of an extension of that, right? Like that's why I was so drawn to the product, right? So it's one of those things where just to give just a quick overview. So btcSOL is a restaking platform where when you restake your SOL or LST with us, we take a portion of the yield and we use it to accumulate ZBTC over the course of a year, right? So over the course of the year, we convert 5.5% of that yield into ZBTC, effectively, in my opinion, giving you the two strongest assets in the crypto sphere right now, right? So you have digital gold in Bitcoin and ZBTC, and you have Solana, the fastest growing, strongest, most high performing ecosystem out there, right? So that's sort of our barbell approach. We call it our dual asset accumulation a strategy. So we call that our DAS, right? So you always, and I always say, I say always stack stats. So everybody loves DAS, right? So always stack stats is what I go with, right? So that's a little bit about btcSOL and it's an overview.
Awesome. I want to dive into a couple of things, and then we'll bring it back. I do want to break down the accumulation yield and kind of explain how the the staking, restaking situation works. But you did mention your background, having self-custody, having ownership of your own funds, and I think that that's something, especially in the States, we forget about that. We forget that there are problems like that in the world because we just are so reliant and trusting of this government that obviously we're starting to see that we need to have the ownership. We need to have that power just in case something happens. It's like, hold up a second, you can't do that. We all are starting to feel that. And that's something that I think that most, US based people, they kind of took that for granted. And now we're seeing the ability to have ownership. When I explained it to somebody that trusts the bank, the 401k, the traditional 9-to-5 job and that grind, they have no questions about this stuff. I'm like, what if the bank fails? What would you do? What if you had $1 million in there and, that you had to go get it right now? You're only getting 250,000. Like, that's it. That's all you get. All of that, they don't care. It's wiped off. And when I ask them, explaining just traditional finance in general, like, what does your money do when you put it into a 401k? They're like, well, they make money for me. I'm like, you're getting a fraction of what they're taking, and they're getting massive gains. So I started teaching people you can be your own banker. You can learn how to use these tools and these assets. And if you feel like you're behind, that's where, to me, I heard dual asset accumulation strategy. I was like, that's it right there. I mean, Solana definitely is the key player, and you have the end game Bitcoin all trapped into one thing right there. And when I explain that to people, they're like, oh, that just kind of sparks that interest. But before we get too much further into that, what drew you into, aside from the custody, what got you into Solana? What made you it sounds like Bitcoin was kind of heavy, but what was Solana primarily that you kind of took focus on to help, or what make you want to build on here?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So last cycle, we started on Bitcoin, and then we started using ETH. And then when ETH got really congested, it was like $100 to make a transaction, and it was slow. And I was like, and everybody was like, "This is the future of finance." I'm like, "Fuck! It takes $100 to make a transaction." I'm like, "Come on, man!" Like, I'm like, "This can't be," and it's slow, and then your transactions wouldn't go through a bunch of times. Like, it was retarded, right? Like, pardon the French, right? It was
no. Hard R's are fine
Basically,
with me.
it's basically saying, how in the world can we ever bring Web 2 users into this at that time?
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean,
there's no way.
Yeah, exactly. The bar is already so high, right? The bar is, okay, first of all, you need to have your own wallet. Then you need to write down these 24 characters. And if you ever lose them, you're never getting you get your money back. And if you send it to the wrong address on the wrong chain, on the wrong this, on the wrong L2, you're never getting it back. So they're like, okay. And then, by the way, if it's busy, it's going to cost you $150 to make a transaction. They're like, okay, well, why not just go to the ATM and withdraw my money? Like, this is what we're going up against, right? So I was like, okay, this is crazy. And then somebody turned me on to Solana, and then I tried using it, and I was like, whoa, like, right? So then I was like, this is my litmus test, right? So I was like, okay. So I gave somebody in my family, I gave him the backpack wallet, and I gave him Jupe, right? Because he was like straight up, he was in the crypto, but he was always onto the sex. He wouldn't like, it was like, I don't trust that shit, blah 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 blah. Like, or whatever, right? That kind of first step in the crypto, you always go through a text, right? Yeah. So I was like, okay, here's the backpack wallet, set it up, and then here's Jupe. Try making some trades on it. Let me know what you think. And he was like, his response was, it's basically a sex-like experience, right? So good. Yeah, so there you go, right? I mean, that's how you're gonna onboard crypto curious people, right? Mm-hmm. Onboarding like normies is gonna take a lot longer, right? But like, if you can't even get to the crypto curious people, right? If you're going to be like, okay, listen here, I know you make minimum wage, okay? I know, in a third world country, you might only make $100 a month, but if you want to make a transaction, it's going to cost you $150. You'd be like,
not practical,
right? Not going to work, okay? So Solana, at that point in time, was one of the only ones. You had like some other nascent ones, like really out there ones, but like this was like the only one that would work more or less consistently, right? So, of course, Solana did have its down times and stuff like that. But I mean, like, I think it's common acceptance now that when your gas fee is $150, that's the same as an outage, right? Right. For me, that's the same thing, right? Because just because you have $1 billion, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's not expensive. Okay, well, that's like, 99% of the other people can use it, right? It's like having
you're throwing like all like just thought out the window. And the excuse people try to tell me was, with Ethereum, you're paying basically the same as you would pay for like a concierge service or a tip or something like that, or somebody to, what's it called? Park your car. And I'm like, I don't think that I would want to pay that much. I understand tipping, I understand paying for service, but paying that much for a transaction and it doesn't guarantee that it's going to go through. That's exactly the same thing for me. And it wasn't practical to tell my friends like, hey, you'll go grab this MV or this NFT or grab a wallet, get some of this, but you're going to have to spend $30 just to send that 150 over. It didn't make any real sense. And once I got on the Solana, same exact thing, I was like, wait, it's done. And it only costs less than a penny. Hands down, it was like, well, I'm not really going to look elsewhere unless like they build it, some other stage. Sure. They've done L2s, fragment, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, we've seen the problems. Solana has consistently grown. You go through the growing pains, and how long has it been? Over like 600 days almost now without an outage or downtime. And I mean, they've grown the network from there. So I'm with you, but I like hearing people's stories and seeing where they come from. Because like I said, it's different perspective, different backgrounds. Like, again, in the US, we typically forget the value of a dollar, forget the ownership, forget the custody part of it. Most people don't even understand what finance is, until they get to this step and they're like, oh, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, that's exactly the plan. Like, they don't want you to. This gives you an opportunity to get back into it. But very similar stories, but it's cool to hear, like I said, the different backgrounds and the reasons why. But I think it all generally comes back down to self-custody and having the ownership and having the ability to send money freely and openly because it's yours, and you should be able to do that end of the day. Like that's just kind of where I look at it. But it's cool to hear that story. So where did the btcSOL, where'd you get involved with like Zeus to get to this point? Where did all of that kind of conversation come to play? And then I do want to break down the actual product itself a little bit.
Yeah, so I've been part of the Zeus community, just a community member and larger token holder since the very beginning, right? So right after their TGE on the launch pad. I think it was
one of those
the
believe in builders kind of situations, right?
yeah, exactly. And then you kind of go down the rabbit hole with the polo and stuff like that. And you kind of like it speaks to the own your own custody, right? So so that one, it really spoke to me. The product really, in a sea of launch pads that only launch no insult to anybody, but the only launch meme coins and all that kind of stuff, or
Right.
like you see the 10th product that's exactly the same as whatever. This is kind of a breath of fresh air, right? So
Yes.
early community member, these guys are, they're a crack bunch of devs. They're building something that's actually pretty hard to do, I think that when btcSOL came around, again, it's one of those things where, for me, like, I started as a Bitcoin maxi, and then I can view those two things as separate things. I, for example, like the concept of owning gold, but I also like tech, right? Like, for me, I can be both, right? Like, I'm not like, oh, I can only own Bitcoin. It's like, okay, like, I love horses, but I also like a car, right? Like, these two things are separate things, right? Like, so I'm not one to say that you will never convince like a Sol maxi to sell all their Sol and buy Bitcoin. Just like you'll never convince a Bitcoin maxi to sell all their Bitcoin and buy Sol or Ethereum or whatnot, whatever, right? So this, I feel like, is like a good balance, because I love Solana, right? And you're not going to convince me not to hold Solana. But if you're telling me that while I'm holding Solana, I can also get like a little bit of Bitcoin on the side, like, that's something that I definitely want to try, right? Because if Bitcoin goes to where we believe it's going to go, like a tier, like later on, like a tier 1 asset, whatever, $1 million a coin, whatever, pick your bullish Michael Saylor fucking quote. You're gonna want some Bitcoin, right? And there's not enough Bitcoin for everybody, right? Like, Michael Saylor is hoovering that. Everybody's hoovering it all up like a vacuum cleaner, right? Like, you should definitely try and accumulate some, passively, right? So this is what btcSOL does, right? We just take 5.5% of that yield, and then we just slowly accumulate over a year, right?
Gotcha. And so what that does, basically, for people that are wondering, you're staking your Solana, and then you get 5.5% accumulation rate in Bitcoin. It just buys it on spot, right? That's the way it works.
Yeah, multiple times a day.
And then is that locked away for people? So, like, is there instant unstaking? How's that whole process work, as far as, like, let's say I took and it's minimum 1 Solana, or is it, how does that all work too? Is there a minimum balance?
Minimum 0.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah, minimum 0.1. But obviously you want to do more, right?
Yeah. But I know that you want to do more. I just know that there's other countries and stuff like that where they're curious how to get started in this, and typically those are the ones that they see this as, all right, this is a financial tool where I can get in the game, I can start to accumulate. And that's one of my favorite things to explain to people, because like you said, everybody says they're late. Everybody says, I don't have enough, I'm going to buy this instead of that. And I'm like, well, having a little bit of diversity does help here. There's a little bit more stability, in a sense, to Bitcoin. So getting a little bit of exposure, even if you have nothing, is better than just saying, all right, I'm just going to skip that leg of the race, because you'll say it again 20 years down the road, like, man, I had a chance to buy some of that. It's worth so much. And for me, I tell people, if you were to start right now with $1,000, I would take at least 30% of that and put that straight into Bitcoin, and then take that other 20-30%, split that in half, stake it for Solana to earn some Bitcoin on top. So you're always adding to that pot, no matter what the price is, because it's like gold to me. It's one of the things, I'm probably not going to use it for anything unless there's a DeFi strategy, unless there's something that's available. So for the everyday person that doesn't know what this is, they've never paid attention to banking, this gives them a chance to add to the pot, where it's like you can literally set this up automatically and just continuously add. Next month, next payday, here's another $100. Here's another $100. Before you know it, the compounding gains that this kind of thing opens up to people, and the opportunity. You're not even talking about the rise of the price of Solana. You're not, like, the dual asset accumulation strategy. And that's one of the things that I kind of preach to people. I know you cannot trade this. I know that you can find ways to, play a different game that are going to beat the gains that you get from staking and the rewards. But this is a no-brainer. This is putting your money to work. This is allowing you to buy that freedom back and do all the other things that you would like to do. And that's one of the things that I like. That was the concept to me where I was like, okay, you can stake with Marinade. I love it. You got the liquid staking token as well. You can play DeFi. After that, you're just kind of like you said, you're just rinsing and repeating, and it's kind of like got stale. When I saw Zeus, I was like, oh shit, you get Bitcoin for Solana. Like we talked about this in 2022. Like how cool would it be if you could stake your soul and get this? And to your point, it's here now. It's something that most people kind of frown at because they're very tight gripped on their Bitcoin. They don't want to release it. They don't trust anything because of the security, because of the way it was built, because of the paper the white paper. And when you read that, it makes sense. You hold it, you don't touch it, and it's peer-to-peer transfer. But like we know, 15-20 minutes for a burger, Trump showed us that that's not the way. It's never going to work in reality. Now you have ZBTC into the game. All right, so can you explain to somebody, like, if you lock up your soul, no instant unstaking, does it take a cooldown period or something like that?
Yeah, so right now, it's 24 hours to unstake it, right? I'll tell you this just a little bit alpha. When we push upgrade 1.5, I will be taking that off. So it's instant unstaking. So there'll be you can have it back whenever you want. Yeah, so that's
big
that.
alpha there.
I completely agree with you. It's one of those things where this is, like I always explain it to people, this is not your get rich quick, scheme. This is not no magic box, right? Like where you get incredibly crazy yields and whatnot. It's literally what we say it is, right? Like how many people come into crypto, put in $100 or $200 or $500, buy a meme coin, get rugged, and you'd be like, oh yeah, I knew it, crypto was a scam, I'm out of here, right? Like too many, right? Like you end up burning so many people just so the next meme coin can come out and rug the next person, right? Like if you just put half of that into this, you will have something at the end of the year, right? You will have Solana and you'll have Bitcoin. Out of almost all the assets out there, those two are definitely not going away, right? So that's like it's one of those things where, okay, like if you really want to grow a retail base of people that will use this, like use crypto, you got to give them more than like a casino, right? There's a certain amount of people that want to come in to play in the casino, but after a certain while, even if you win in the casino, which is like, as the pump numbers show, like 3% or something like that, they'll still want to do something that's not as risky. And this kind of has that like vibe to it, right? So it's not one of those things. And like you said, when you do accumulate Bitcoin, you will be able to, if you right now, if you log in through a Phantom wallet, you can actually directly go through a Polo to get your ZBTC back into Bitcoin on the Bitcoin main. Yeah, so that's one feature that is available right now. So like you said, we just accumulate we accumulate Bitcoin for you every day, 4 or 5 pounds, like whatever the DC is. You can see it on the website. We accumulate for you, and then after you claim it, it's yours. Right? Like it's just one of those things. It's automatic. You don't need to think about it. It's the same concept as all these other 401ks and all that kind of stuff, where you buy an ETF and it's like, okay, we automatically do it for you. People will be like, oh yeah, why don't I just do it myself? Well, you're more than welcome to do it. You're more than welcome to do it yourself. But
they're gonna forget.
Don't have that discipline,
they're gonna forget.
So right now you can accumulate your BTC or ZBTC in this case every single day. And here soon you can instant unstake on top of that. And then you can take that ZBTC and then even take it a step further and get into DeFi. Yeah. That's it. You got it, right? And there's a roadmap. We're working on roadmaps right now. So we have version 1.5 coming up, and then we'll be pushing it for the roadmap. I think hopefully by early next year you'll be able to actually wrap btcSOL, and then hopefully be able to use it in other DeFi projects. But that's a little bit further down the road because it requires more architecture. We want to make sure that it's done properly and safe.
I want to spin it back.
We're already. I
want to spin it back a second right here, and you hit a point that I was talking with some people in space the other day, talking about how even if you win in meme coins, what do you do with the Solana once you get it? Because that's all they know. All they know is like pull the trigger to see if it spins and hits it. Like they don't know what to do, and it's the same thing for.
I think they also think in terms of USD on everything too.
Yeah,
they're literally just thinking, oh, I just need this.
Trying to get money in bank. How do I off ramp and get it out?
Yeah.
Like, and to the point there is people that aren't even in crypto yet, you know, when they make money, back to finance 101, they don't know what to do with it. They don't know that they have options and things that are available. So when you get the guys that are crypto curious and they're starting to learn whether they're rugged, whether they lost, whether they're up, they have this asset, and then they don't really have options. NFTs are a scam to them. They don't want to get into them. They're kind of spun out and dried out on the meme coins. They don't know much about alts, but they're comfortable with Solana. So why are they even going to leave there? This is where it's like they know what Bitcoin is. That's why they got here. So when I direct people there, they're like, oh shit. I'm like, yeah, if you got like 10, 15, 20 Bitcoin, like, or not Bitcoin, if you did, great. But if you had that in, if you had that in, you know, Solana, and you're just sitting on it, you're doing a disservice there. So staking, like, that's where I tell people, think about your 401k. I explained to them you're only getting a fraction of that percentage. Basically, what they're doing is what I'm explaining to you, to put your money to work so you can get stuff at the end of the 40 years that you're going to keep piling into this. If you do that with just Bitcoin, you're going to outpace the 401k. If you do this with Solana and you get some of the Bitcoin, you only have to do, you know, 50%, taper it down to 20% when the prices run up, by whatever you got to do. But like, time will let you see that. And I think the biggest thing is people don't know what to do. They want to go to the most shiny object, the most alluring thing out there, and the discipline and patience. I mean, most of the wealthiest people in crypto have their crypto staked. They have it locked up where they're not touching it, and they're not using a large portion to try to, you know, spin the lottery wheel. They're letting it grow over time, and those are the ones that are making out the most. The ones that are trying to get there, they keep spinning that wheel, and like you said, you do it 10 times. You think crypto's a scam, you think it's a bunch of bullcrap, but at that 10 different instances, if you would have just bought and held and just did your daily thing, you'd be up and you'd be seeing, okay, now I have something to play with. Now I can take 10% of this profit, and now I can go back to the gambling wheel. Maybe you win that time. Maybe you got a little bit more ammo in there. But I think this is one of the strongest onboarding cases. Hey, you've heard about Bitcoin? Well, let me show you how you can get some with Solana. Like, wait, what? Okay. And all it takes is a click. And I go back to the point of, if anybody's using a phone, playing games, sending emails, able to use online banking, you've got all the skill sets to be into crypto. All you got to do is find relatable things. And I mean, I've used this. I've walked it through, or walked people through how to use it. And I've actually had, what's it called? The Soulflare team, they went live with Nikki and they did a, you know, demonstration. They love it. They think it's a great opportunity for people. Again, you don't have enough Bitcoin. You never do. And it's the easiest way to accumulate more Bitcoin. I mean, it's the end goal, fast track. So I absolutely love it. And, you know, I think that the response that we saw in some of the clips from the WebEx, you guys had a line around the corner of people interested in this. You want to talk a little bit about the IRL experience and people kind of, you know, their take on it that may not have known about it? Because I'm kind of curious to see what the reception was. I'm sure I could guess, but I want to hear it from the first person experience.
Yeah, for sure. WebEx was crazy. I think because we're staring at charts and in the ecosystem 24/7. You know, we never get any sleep, but we think that everybody knows what, you know, Solana is and all that kind of jazz. But I mean, you'd be surprised how early we are, right? Like, you speak to a lot of people on the street, everybody knows, okay, in this day and age, everybody knows what Bitcoin is, right? Like, that's a fact, okay? But if you ask them, aside, you know, be like, oh, do you know what Ethereum is? Do you know what Solana is? Most, like 50-50, they'll be like, yep. What? So we're still super early.
I would actually say most WebEx don't even know what it is.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I'm gonna agree with you on that one. So WebEx was good, aside from the fact that Japan is absolutely ripping hot right now. It's like 40 degrees and like a super high humidity, and you know, all our merch is black, so you know that's on me. But no, it was good. The reception was good. I think a lot of people they're really curious about Bitcoin and what this entire ecosystem is about, right? Because I think we're just getting over a lot of people that have been inundated with negative coverage over the years, you know, with like FTX and all that kind of stuff, and crypto go down and all these scam exchanges and all that kind of stuff. So people are curious now because, you know, all-time highs, people are like, oh, hello, what's going on over here, right? So people are curious. They're really curious about our booth because we had a pretty catchy tagline. Our tagline was "Don't hold Bitcoin." So a lot of people actually came over and were like, "What do you mean don't hold Bitcoin?" So we're like, "Oh yeah, you can actually put it to use." And when you explain to them, when you talk to them, maybe a lot of them know what Solana is, but they're not really that deep into it. But the reception was really good because, like we say, not everybody had the ability, to buy Bitcoin at like $100 or even $1,000, right? Like it's hard to buy a lot of Bitcoin now because the number is so high. Like it or not, small numbers are more attractive to people because they say, well, to buy a whole Bitcoin is 100K, but I could buy XRP at $2 or something like that, right? So, they're interested. There was a lot of people that came around, and when you start explaining the tech to them and everything like that, they're very interested. So Zeus has a growing following. It definitely helped because we had some Japanese speakers on board to help us. And people love the mascot, and they generally like the idea of staking your SOL or restaking your LST and getting Bitcoin, because like we said, being able to have both these assets in one go and accumulate over time is an attractive proposition to many people. So the reception was great. Every day we have a mascot. We call him B-Ball. So this is
Let's
our
go.
mascot.
Nice.
There you go. So he made his debut. At WebEx. Every day we went to the Super Team event on the first day, and then the WebEx event on the second and third day. Every day we ran out before the end of the day. So people were coming up. They're like, "Oh, kawaii," which is like cute in Japanese. They're like, "Oh, kawaii," and they like wanted it. I'm like, "Oh yeah, you can have him, but you have to do all the take a picture and all
That's
that."
so cool. That's awesome. That's good to hear, because I feel like that's going to be a growing trend. People are going to like it. I think the mascot, it was a huge hit. I've seen it all over the place. People posting about it. They're excited. I mean, it's a basketball. It's a very relatable thing. People will say, "Oh, I want one of them." And that just opens the door. I like the take of don't hold your Bitcoin. People are like, wait, what do you mean? I've been told to hold Bitcoin my whole life. It's like, because there wasn't these opportunities available. This is all great stuff. And for people watching, if you're not, tapped into Zeus Network and you don't see what's going on with btcSOL, these guys are cooking. There's more coming down the pipeline. I guarantee it. These guys are crack devs, like Des was saying. If you want to talk a little bit about, all right, so we talked about if you have Bitcoin, you can get it onto Solana. You want to talk about the process of how you get Bitcoin into Solana with Apollo, and then, talk about how you would off ramp and get it back to regular Bitcoin for people that are like, all right, well, I just want to take it out now, just because you got to have both options, obviously.
Okay, so I'll go through what I usually tell people about the process. So, for example, what I do is, say you're like trading meme coins or doing whatever on Solana, and you make a little bit of profit, right? I know it's hard these days, but say you make a little bit of profit. And then what I'll do is I'll convert a portion of that profit into ZBTC, right? So when I have it in ZBTC, I'll deposit it, for example, in some of our partner protocols like Stable or some other yielding, where you can actually gain like a few. So you're using your profits to deposit into these stables, for example, Stable, which is like a 3 pool. So you end up with a version of Bitcoin anyways, or you can do with, I think, XBTC. Also, we have a vault with them. So again, you'll end up with a version of Bitcoin, but you'll gain yield on that. So you're making your Bitcoin work for you, is what we say, right? So you're making your Bitcoin work for you. And then when you get to a certain amount, what I do is I go through Apollo. Right, so Apollo again is our flagship app for Zeus. Right, so what it is, it's basically a lock and mint mechanism. So you lock your Bitcoin. What happens is when you want to move your Bitcoin onto Solana, you lock your Bitcoin on an address, a cold storage address on the Bitcoin main chain, and then once that's verified by the SVM and our Guardian network, we'll mint you an exact amount on a Solana side called ZBTC, and it's always pegged 1-to-1, right? So that's verified by Chainlink. Speaking of Chainlink, that's verified by Chainlink. So the proof of reserve sits on chain, and it's visible at all times. You can go to Zeus Scan to find out, to take a look at it. Anyone can verify it, so it's proof of reserves on chain 24/7. So there's no worries about that. So once you get minted your ZBTC on Solana, you can use Bitcoin essentially how the white paper says. It's sort of like a peer-to-peer. You can
Right.
move it around. You can move actually Bitcoin around at the speed of
Mhm.
Solana, right? And you can use it in DeFi. You know, I can send SMS. I can send you one stat. I can send Jules one stat. Like you can use it for its intended purpose, and essentially. And then say you've had enough fun on the Solana side and you want to move it back. So you go back to Apollo, you burn the ZBTC, and then within half an hour, again, because it needs to go through confirmations, through the Guardian network, once it gets validated that burn mechanism has occurred, it'll unlock the corresponding amount on Bitcoin main chain, and then you'll be in your wallet.
Gotcha. Pretty simple process, and I appreciate you explaining that, because there are some people that they're like, wait, how do I even get it on there? I'm like, well, they already got all of that figured out. It's a pretty simple process. How instant is this? Is this like you click it, it's done? You have to wait a time period? How fast does that work?
Yeah, so Apollo V2 went live as well. I think a few weeks ago. Yeah. So right before WebEx. So that cut down the time from about 1 hour, 1.5 hours to about 30 minutes now, right? So it's faster than depositing Bitcoin, about the same speed as depositing Bitcoin on a centralized exchange. The benefit again is no KYC, no KYB. If you try to do the same thing, for example, with Coinbase, BTC, if you tried to get Bitcoin back, well, we all know the stories about Coinbase. You know, they like to freeze your shit. WBTC, we love WBTC. We think the more Bitcoin on Solana, the better. But again, with WBTC, if you do anything with size, you need to find, it's like an OTC desk, right? So you need to find a table on the other side. So for whatever reason, more aligned with the ethos of crypto, we believe that if you want to move it, you should be able to move it. You shouldn't have the KYC, you shouldn't have the KYB, and that's what Apollo is essentially. Awesome,
man. I think you've really covered everything that, as far as I had, regarding btcSOL, explaining it in depth, how people can get their Bitcoin in it, use it, DeFi opportunities, let it sit there and cook, stake it, whatever you wanted to do, swap meme coins with your gains. I love that take too, because that's one of my favorite things. When I see people that are like, I hit a 10x, I was like, take a 5x and put that into Solana, stake it, go, like, forget about it, put that into your ledger and just let it cook. Come back to it in a year or something like that. Go buy yourself a car. I don't know what you want to do with it, but do something with it, because there's going to be some opportunities there with that. But Jules, you got anything you wanted to add in? Any extra questions or anything else that you wanted to touch on?
One little thing I'd also bring up too, since we were kind of talking about not just only like, how you get your BTC out and things like that, but I would also point out, while we were talking about Apollo, that they do have on the Apollo dApp itself, you have an earn tab that you can just go right there, and they show every place that you can go, whether it's lend, borrow, LP, whatever. It's always updated and basically shows you how you can earn and where you want to go. So just I point that out, that it's really the easiest way if you're not sure what's out there, I guess, and because there's always going to be a bunch of DeFi options. So this basically is a hub to show you where you want to go and what the APRs are looking like at the time.
Yeah, there's no excuse now.
That's the thing, man. Once you hear it, you can't unhear this stuff. So it's your fault. It's up to you guys now if you want to take advantage of the opportunities. I can actually share that tab real quick for Apollo, just to show them real quick, because I'm kind of curious. Let me just pull this up here. Share.
It's pretty sweet. I was impressed.
There we go. Okay, yeah, this is the one that we were seeing everybody sharing on their timeline.
I'm trying to remember. Didn't that, Des, maybe you recall more than me, did that go up over the weekend?
It looks like it.
HawkFi and Meteoric, wasn't it like 170 something before the weekend?
Yeah, it looks pretty juicy. I might have to log off and log off real quick.
All right, guys, wrapping up the show now. We're gonna go.
Wrap it up.
No, man, I definitely appreciate your time, and honestly, like, we are getting to the end of it. We're at the top of the hour. We covered all the points. I think we got a good breakdown and understanding of how this works. Let me get the regular screen back up. All right, but like I said, man, it means a lot when we come out here and talk to the people about how this works. I mean, we can post threads, we can post pictures, we can show, balances, P&L, all of that kind of stuff. But talking about how easy this works, you could have grabbed your phone, you could have bought Solana, you could have swapped it, staked it, this entire time, and like you said, 24 hours for the instant or for the unstaking, which is being decreased, you said, to 30 minutes or so. Oh, zero.
So for BTC, yeah, btcSOL, we're removing the 24-hour withdrawal lock for
Gotcha.
unstaking. You'll be able to withdraw.
In my opinion, it defeats
instantly.
the purpose of why you would even stake. But if somebody makes a mistake, they need to get it out. Emergencies do happen, so it is good to have that feature available. One thing I do tell people, I'm like, don't look at this button. Just know it's there in case that emergency happens. You got to think long term. You got to think, you know, I'm going to take some of my 401k. Like here's a story real quick before we get out of here. I was down in Nashville. I told a couple different women about, you know, withdraw your 401k, put it into Bitcoin. Only one did. She bought 3 Bitcoin, went up to 100,000 per Bitcoin from 30 grand. She retired, paid off all of her debts, gave her kids money, and that's how crypto works. And that's my understanding, is the transfer of wealth, giving people the freedom, the opportunity to live their life. Like when you have something that's literally a layup, it's not taking anything out of your pocket to like, or your time really to do this. You do it and you walk away and you can keep adding to it. Basically as simple as playing like a mobile phone game. Why wouldn't you take advantage of that? Like that's the question I have for people. But I appreciate you. I'm excited to see how this continues to develop, the different opportunities that come up. If you guys aren't paying attention, man, this is a great opportunity. There's looping strategies once you get your ZBTC. Once you swap in your wallet from any meme coin, any stable coin, or whatever coin you got on Solana, you can put it right into ZBTC. There is a deep liquidity pocket there. You're not going to run into issues. And again, there's going to be more stuff that comes up. I started seeing, meme coin potentially being backed by ZBTC. I saw some people hinting at NFTs that are, only purchased in ZBTC because they want to keep that Bitcoin standard. I'm excited to see where this grows, man, and I'll be here for the ride. If there's anything you want to share before we close this thing out, the mic's yours.
No, yeah, thank you. No, again, thank you for letting me share our story. We'll be pushing upgrades soon, so stay tuned. We'll also be paying to kind of incentivize people to long-term stake, like you said, SMS and Jules. This is a long-term game, right? As much as we want, as long it's not going to happen, right? Like, let's be real, right? It takes time, So again, this is a long-term oriented product for you to stake. And just forget about it, and then come back when and you have two assets that are.
Just check it on your birthday once a year. Just come
add to it on your birthday, and then you'll be good later on.
Yeah, seriously, take some of the gifts. I tell people take 10% of all of your gifts, your payments, your whatever you get. 10% of everything that comes through your hands. If you just add that into btcSOL or your favorite staking option, you're gonna make out over time. It's a very, very solid strategy. So if you guys are not sure how to accumulate this, take 10% of everything you got. If it's $100, take 10. If it's 1,000, take 100. Just use that method. You'll start to stack, and you'll be very happy you did so. But Des, thanks for all your time. We got one more clip, Jules, before we get out of here. Anything else you wanted to share? We're not going to look at charts today. Maybe we can jump on later if you got the time. I know that winter season has hit for you, so maybe I can drag you back out here.
Have the time now.
All right, sick. Maybe we'll jump on the daily stream. Des, we'll be in touch. Definitely would like to bring you back on. Had a great time talking with you, getting to learn you more about you. And I will be in Europe and Asia in the next coming months, so maybe I'll run into you at some of these IRL events. So that'll be fun.
Let's do it.
All right, I'm going to play out another clip. This is actually the V2 ad from Zeus with Apollo, so you guys might recognize this. But other than that, you guys have a great day. Thanks for tuning in to Solana Made Simple. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the timeline.
Thank you.